Somewhere in the world, there is a person whose job is buying potatoes. Not growing them, not peeling them, buying them professionally. Which raises an interesting question. How do you become head of potatoes? Welcome back to This Is Someone's Job, the show about the strangest ways people make a living. If you've been here since polishing goldfish, diving for golf balls, sleeping for NASA, or even moving icebergs, welcome back. And if you're new here, you've picked a rather starchy episode to begin with. This week's episode comes with a shout out to Ben Taylor, who suggested we take a look at the fascinating world of professional potato buying. Thanks, Ben. I promise this episode is much more interesting than it sounds. Because while most of us spend about 30 seconds choosing a bag of potatoes, somebody else has spent the last 12 months deciding which potato can even make it onto the shelf. A potato buyer works for a supermarket and major food companies. Their job is to make sure there are enough potatoes of the right quality at the right price every single day. And when you think about it, that's a surprisingly big responsibility. Because if you get it wrong, millions of people notice. When I first heard this job existed, I imagined someone wandering around Tesco's, looking at potatoes and saying, "Yep, those do." Turns out, it's a little more complicated than that. A product buyer's day starts at around 6 in the morning, before most of us have had our first coffee. They're already analysing sales figures, warehouse stock levels, market reports, and yesterday's potato sales. They're asking questions like, why did jacket potatoes suddenly sell better in Manchester? Why are mashed potato sales down? Do we need another lorry from Lincolnshire tomorrow morning? I never thought potatoes involved spreadsheets, but apparently they involve lots of spreadsheets. By 8:30, they're on the phone to growers, farmers, negotiating prices, checking harvest yields, planning deliveries, sometimes signing contracts worth millions of pounds. And supermarkets don't usually buy direct from hundreds of individual farmers. Instead, they work with huge companies like Branston or Greenville who manage everything from planting to storage to packing, making sure supermarkets have potatoes every single day of the year. One of my favourite parts of this job is benchmarking. Yes, professional potato tasting. Buyers regularly visit suppliers, taste their own potatoes, then compare them with competitors. Is ours fluffier? Sweeter? Better for chips? Better for roasting? Apparently, it is all very scientific. I'd quite like that meeting. Morning, everyone. Today's agenda, potatoes. I also discovered there are over 4,000 potato varieties in the world. 4,000! And they do all different jobs. Maris Piper, fantastic for chips. King Edward, perfect roasting potato. Charlotte, great for salads. Jersey Royals, basically British summertime. Then there are potatoes with names like Jelly, Tyson, and King Harry. King Harry even has hairy leaves, which naturally stops insects eating the plant. Imagine explaining that at a pub quiz. My favourite fact though, Maris Piper's wasn't named after a person. It was named after Maris Lane, where the variety was first developed. And while I was researching this episode, I stumbled across one of the strangest potato facts I've ever heard. Back in Shakespeare's days, potatoes were often known as love apples. People genuinely believed they were an aphrodisiac, which means somewhere someone looked at a potato and thought, ooh, that's a bit romantic. Personally, I think flowers are probably the safer option. Mind you, Marie Antoinette was apparently such a fan of potatoes, she wore potato flowers in her hair to make them fashionable. I never thought researching potatoes would lead me there. One thing every potato buyer becomes slightly obsessed with is the weather. Too hot, the potatoes stop growing. Too cold, frost kill the shoots. Too wet, the roots rot. Too dry, the potatoes crack and become misshapen. So while you're hoping for sunshine on your barbecue, someone else is quite hoping for about 18 degrees and perfectly timed rainfall. And here's where this job suddenly becomes much more serious. The UK eats around 5 million tonnes of potatoes every year. That's roughly 80 kilograms for every single person in Britain. The UK grows almost 5 million tonnes itself, but still imports huge quantities from countries like Belgium and the Netherlands just to keep up with demand. So this isn't someone buying a few bags for the supermarket. They're helping manage one of Britain's biggest food supply chains. Imagine introducing yourself. So, what do you do? I buy potatoes. Full time? Yes. Favourite variety? That's a very personal question. And if you're wondering just how important this role can become, it actually made national headlines. In 2012, a former Sainsbury's potato buyer was jailed after accepting millions of pounds in cash, luxury gifts, and lavish hospitality in return for rewarding lucrative supply contracts. The supermarket claimed it had been overcharged by almost £9 million. It wasn't really a potato story, it was a corruption story, but it showed just how much influence one supermarket buyer could have. It's funny how every strange job changes the way you look at ordinary things. Goldfish become luxury pets, queues become business, golf balls become treasure, penguins become colleagues, and potatoes become a £1 billion business. A few hundred years ago, people thought potatoes improved your love life. Today, they're far more likely to improve your Sunday roast. The next time you're standing in a supermarket choosing between 2 bags of potatoes, just remember, someone spent months deciding they should both be there. And as I always do, I'd like to read the annual appraisal. Excellent negotiating skills, outstanding knowledge of Maris Pipers, need to stop talking about potatoes at dinner parties. And that's the thing about strange jobs, they often hide in plain sight. Every week. Millions of us buy potatoes without even thinking about the people who made sure they were there. And if you happen to have an unusual job yourself, or know someone whose career sounds completely made up, I'd genuinely love to hear about it. You can reach the show at thisissomeonesjob@gmail.com. And tomorrow, while most of us are deciding what to have for dinner, someone, somewhere, will be deciding which potatoes the rest of us will be eating next year. Thank you for listening to This Is Someone's Job.